So we did go and meet the president specifically to show, there is a big bias even in Uganda, but in many African countries, that youth are lazy, youth are doing nothing. I think maybe some conversation I'm familiar with. So I wanted to show the president first that there is a category of young people you have not yet met, but they're actually doing amazing work.
It's the Soul Engineer back again with another episode of Engineer Thoughts. We are back. We are in this. And today I have with you an amazing guest. I have with you someone who has achieved so many things. I don't even know if we're going to cover this in one episode. How we found him was through our last guest, by the way. And he has so many feats, one of which include meeting the president of Uganda. Here with us is Solomon Odongo.
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, guys, thanks. That introduction. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here, actually.
It's great to have you here, man.
Great to have you. Thank you so much for giving us your time, because you're a very busy individual.
Yeah.
And talking about you being highly active, like you said, you spoke to President Yoweri Museveni in February about how the youth is tackling the SDGs in Uganda. And you also were a guest, you were a speaker at a TED Talk in March at the International University of East Africa.
Wow.
Which, is a very big deal. So let's start with the meeting with the president. How did that come to be?
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for that. Now, the meeting with the president, it was I'm under what we call a coalition for youth coalition for SDGs. These are young people, young leaders all over the country who are doing whose work is aligned to the achievement of the SDG Sustainable Development Goals. So we are divided into thematic areas. Talk about gender equality, sports. We have human capital development, and where am I? It's called entrepreneurship and innovation.
Yes.
Then, so our patron is the United Nations Resident Coordinator, the head of UN in Uganda. Okay. So we did go and meet the president specifically to show, there is a big bias even in Uganda, but in many African countries, that youth are lazy, youth are doing nothing. I think maybe some conversation I'm familiar with. So I wanted to show the president first that there is a category of young people you have not yet met, but they're actually doing amazing work. They're doing something, and that's and they're in your country. And this is what the resident coordinator was telling the president. Like, Your Excellency, you need to meet these young people and hear from them. So that's how we got to have that meeting with the president.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting because, it's not an everyday thing, where someone can casually say that they met the president.
Bro.
So, and also the fact that...
Yeah,
go ahead.
You did mention something about SDGs. What exactly are SDGs?
Okay, good question. So now SDGs, maybe just to use the full word, Sustainable Development Goals. These are goals. These are goals that were agreed upon by all countries in 2015. That there are targets. Maybe I would say that there are targets that by 2030, let's have zero hunger. Let's have every single person have something to eat. By 2030, let's have people out of poverty. And there are 17 in numbers. So every single country put a signature on them. And Uganda, by then, why they're so much dear to Uganda? Because I wouldn't quote that we're some sort of pioneers, because by then it was a Ugandan who is current Minister of Foreign Affairs, who was the president of the General Assembly. So that's when they were. So we are like the flag bearers. So we need to show an example.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So that is such a daunting task because I assume that within the SDGs, there are several layers to that. There are several points that you're tackling. Is there any specific sustainable development goal that you'd take as your main aim or your main target?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. One of the main one is goal number one to me. And that's why all my work I do is to how do we get people out of poverty, especially in the continent.
Yeah.
You know, very many people, young people live under low conditions, which are very bad for life. So all my work aligned to how do I get people out of poverty? How do I create businesses? How do I end poverty through employment, you know? And that's what actually one of the things we're talking about the president, that if he supports young entrepreneurs like I and many others who are able to scale businesses, to employ more young people, you know,
Yes.
I do believe that, zero hunger, all the rest of the SDGs, all come towards to one. People are poor.
Yeah.
You know, when you are poor, you'll be able, you are at risk you are at risk on for very many things. So I believe that we need to tackle poverty, and how to sustainably tackle poverty is by creating sustainable jobs for people.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe so much. Yeah.
That's man, it's mind blowing to hear that. Because whenever I looked, I've once heard of these sustainable development goals when I was maybe last year, not so long ago. And whenever I looked at them, I was like, these are old people stuff. These are big people things, people that sit in the high offices, they're dishing out the rules, the presidents, the prime ministers, and so on and so forth. And then when I see a young person like you who grabbed this for themselves and like, yeah, this is where young people can fit in. And we are not supposed to be only, being on the end side, receiving everything. We should be at the forefront, making sure these things happen. We should be at the forefront trying to get rid of hunger, get rid of everything, and reach these goals. It's brilliant to hear that.
Yeah, and also on top of that, it seems like a lot of the times with a lot of these goals that we get, they seem so unattainable because of the reality that we live in. They seem so hopeless. But then when we have people with a motive to actually tackle these problems head on, that's when we start seeing progress.
Big progress. Big problem. I think, yes, you wanted to say something?
No, generally the SDGs are about us, and very many people actually confuse that they think that they're for the president, and that's one of the things we have been in conversation with different stakeholders, government, United Nations. How do we localize the SDGs? You see, to be part of your daily life. You see, when you go and cut the tree, we're telling people, don't cut trees. This is going to affect you. You are going to cause drought, So we want to make the SDGs, when you cut trees, it's affecting climate. One of the SDGs we have is climate change. And you're seeing what's happening all over the world. You see, so we're talking about that. No, don't cut trees, and because trees are part of the process of getting rain. That's why it's many seasons are changing, So that's global warming, and we want to make these localized to be so that people don't dump rubbish, plastic. Sometimes everyone thinks, it's government, it's government. It's UN which needs to do this, and by the end of, and if we have that perspective, we are not going to be able to achieve this. So when we achieve SDGs, we are improving our own lives, not the lives, not the government. And I've been actually recently, if I remember, I think it was this year, speaking to young people in the UK.
Yes.
In the UK, young scouts, about SDGs, similar conversation, especially about climate change, because in the Western world, that is a big topic. How do they be part of positive agents that are going to, change that conversation? And it starts by the young generation, that if you have a plastic bottle, don't go and dump it on the road. It takes ages and ages to decompose. How about you go and dump it in the right place? So that's the conversation we're having everywhere where we go and speak. Exactly. How do you really reuse it?
Yeah. Now that's great conversation. It's great to hear that. And we found out that earlier this year, in fact, last month, you gave a TED talk at the university, in Uganda. Would you care to just tell us what it is you're talking about?
Sure. Amazing. It was a very wonderful conversation. And I was talking about a topic which it's dear to me, as a topic about African youth can change the world.
Yeah.
It is something I'm so passionate about. If you look at just numbers published by most of these bodies, IMF and World Bank, African Development, they do project, first of all, being the youngest, population, but also they do project we are going to have more young people very soon. As in 2050, our population is going to double. But when you also look at that same time, they talk about we are about to be a time bomb. Many young people are going to become to get into these violent groups, rebels, and all that.
Yeah.
Yet we have the capacity to change different societies. Look at this. Every year we need 10 to 11 million jobs. To be able to attract other young people, to be able to capture the youth, the graduates who are coming into the job market. But we lack that. Now, being in a continent which has majority of young people, meaning all that burden is upon us, how do we make this youth an asset? And we are very creative, we are very energetic. And that's why here in Uganda, we launched what we call the 1 million SDGs solutions. We're trying to mobilize 1 million young people with solutions that can be able to be scaled all over the continent, providing thousands of jobs, improving society.
Yeah.
You see. So we're looking at how do young people become agents of change in our different countries, So that's the conversation we're having, and changing our mindset is very, very important. Sometimes I work with very many young people, but if you look at their mindset, government should be able to be giving them. They think government is bad. How much many governments?
Typical young people conversation.
Yes, you see. And I've interacted with the young people actually all over the continent, from east, south. It's almost the same conversation.
Yeah.
Government. How do we come out, and say, help us? And that's why one of the things we also telling the president, we don't want to be only beneficiaries of your initiatives. We want to be partners. You see, I'm running a business. How do I want you to be a partner in my business? I want you to also focus giving to us tax holidays the way you are giving to foreign investors, so that my business thrives and I give more tax, and I employ more young people. So that's a conversation we want to get into with the government. How do we be stakeholders? How do we sit on the table and talk, like stakeholders? Because now we have become a majority stakeholder in this country.
Yeah, that's true.
And everywhere. Yeah. So I think that is what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. I think when you said that in order for the youth to have initiative to getting solutions to these problems, they have to personalize those solutions. They have to think of how they can be a part of the solution, which I think is the secret to us, doing more and coming up, with a better future for ourselves. So talking about initiative, it seems like it's something that you've had from a very young age. So I think we'll go a few steps back and ask, who is Solomon Odong'o Maxwell?
Very hard question to answer. I don't know where to begin from.
We can begin from birth, where you were born, how you grew up.
Anyway.
Anyway, read.
Okay. All right. So I was born in the eastern part of the country, rural place, a very rural place. It's called, it was then called Soroti, but now it's called Serere. Now, I was born to, then when I was still young, my dad passed on, unfortunately. So life was actually quite hard, very, very hard. So when that happened, we tried to see, I went through school, but even through school, I tried to do different initiatives. In my high school, I did develop, just a moment, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. Something.
No problem.
Okay, it's okay.
So I was saying that when I joined my senior one, my secondary school, it's the first time I came across on a computer, an actual computer. Then I was like, wow, this is some intelligent machine. What can I do about it?
Yeah.
I taught myself coding. And 3 years from that, I developed the first e-learning platform then. It was an amazing initiative for the school. It was for my high school. I saw that in the future, learning online is going to be the new normal. And right now, it's actually what's happening.
Wow. So what year was this?
That was 2013.
Wow. That was like almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah. So I did that first. I did that first e-learning platform. We did, it worked out. People liked it. Parents liked it. People used to post notes online, research. Even we met some, it was the vice president of Michigan University from the US. He had come to Uganda. He liked the e-learning. Literally, I'm used to think, what else can I do? What other initiative can improve my community? And that was the university. My high school then. It was called Seroma Christian High School. I was there for 6 years. Then that initiative continued. Then I was like, I need to think about something else, because I'm always thinking, what can I do next? Then with my colleagues, I thought about something called the bicycle phone charger. This was an innovation which blew very many people. It was majorly, in Uganda, by then we have 70% of people are not connected to the electricity grid. Wow. And there's a growth of phones, these phones, people are getting phones, these small phones, not smartphones. But yet, there is a challenge because you have a phone, but you cannot charge. Yet, majority of people in rural areas have bicycles. So we're like, no, how can they use the bicycle through kinetic energy, charge their phone, mobile phones? So we connected the two. We had an innovation. We competed through Junior Achievement Uganda. We won the best innovation that year, and it went on actually well. I pitched that innovation to some investors in the US. They liked it actually. So we partnered to do a few prototypes, advanced prototypes, which are now working. Then I got done with my high school. I looked at university. What can I do again in the university? When I joined my university, I started thinking, I need to develop something. I need to improve my community where I was. So that's the first time I joined what they call HALT Prize. You might have had HALT Prize. It's all over the world. It's a $1 million competition. So I brought HALT Prize for the first time in my university for young people to compete, to bring ideas which can change and employ thousands of youth. Young people competed, it got the attention of the vice chancellor, and everyone was very excited. That's when I joined ISEC, an international organization. By then, I was still very young, actually. That's when, after 2 years, 2.5 years, I was appointed to be the country director of ISEC in Uganda. Wow. I think the youngest then, actually. I might have been the youngest in the entire ISEC in the world. the second youngest, to run the organization at that scale. So all my life has been, I've been trying to think, what can I improve in my society? Who can I partner with? What can I do? All that part. Then immediately I launched my other company. The bicycle charger was the first company I did launch. The second one I launched it just last year. That is called the Ascente Group. What do? We help people like you who are in the diaspora to invest back home. We believe it is like in Uganda, $1.4 billion is being sent to Uganda from Ugandans in the diaspora. But you look at that money, 80% of it goes into consumption. Yet, that could be a huge amount of money to do investments. So that's where we come in. We're like, no, we want to help Ugandans. We want to help people like you who are abroad, but you are saving your small money. And how do we leverage that to create huge investments that are going to employ people back home? So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So we have a couple of people we are trying to help to invest in that. But eventually, our future plan, we want to create a diaspora investment bank where you don't even need to contact me. Just go to our platform, our app, you manage your account, you invest, you agree in terms of conditions, you choose what investment portfolios, because we want to look at the scalability of it. So it's working all over. Yeah, so
this is an African initiative.
Yes, it is an African initiative. Yeah, because technically I'm not a person who believes in borrowing in a lot of this borrowing African governments have put our countries into, and it's affecting. Yet there is massive amount of money that can come in from Africans who are working and living abroad.
That's
because
true.
If you look at the statistics, thousands, billions of dollars are being remitted back home. But most of that goes into consumption. So I want to redirect that. How can we create huge investment portfolios in energy, in oil and gas, in agro processing, in real estate, so we can have those investments back home.
Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, a like, a comment, a subscription will be appreciated. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other podcasting platform, a review would be appreciated. So please be sure to leave a review. And with those words, let's get back to the show. Turns out you built your first company when you were in your second year of high school.
Yes.
Maybe how did you do that, and what challenges did you face? And just tell us more about the company.
Okay, good question. My first company in high school was called Smudge Tech. What we're doing was about technology. We're trying to commercialize our e-learning platform. So we're more of a tech company. Now, it came under an organization called Junior Achievement. Yeah. So these guys, or this organization, what it does, it equips students, secondary students, with entrepreneurial skills. So that's where it was some sort of mentorship organization for young people. So one of the challenges, of course, was how do you manage a company? How do you manage your team?
Yeah.
A team of 5 people. How do you
old
manage
were you at the time?
Yeah.
How old were you at the time?
Let me see. I can't. Let me try to calculate well. Yeah, because I finished high school when I was around 18. Yeah, 18.
So you're probably 14 or 15.
Yes, 14, 13. Yes, around that age.
There. Yeah.
Yes. So how do you manage a company? How do you, how do you communicate with the team? How do you pitch your product? How do you organize a business plan?
Yes.
All that. And so most of the things I learned them during my time at Junior Achievement, because they took us through all that. But then eventually we go out for competitions. How do you compete? You present your business plan. You compete. You present your pitch. As if you're presenting to investors. You record sales. You populate income statements. And that's one of the things I wanted to learn best is how do you manage a company and how do you manage your financials? Yeah.
That's probably a big challenge. I mean, you're like 14 and trying already to learn how to manage a company. Some people already at the age of 25, 30, 35, they're still trying to
and it's
manage.
a struggle.
They're still learning to
Mm.
manage their first company. Some people that actually took the route of, going to do MBAs or another degree course at school just to learn how to manage that company. So to see you have a challenge like that at a young age, it shows the type of drive you had, and in a good way, which is, again, man, it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of the time at that time, you're still trying to figure out who you are. No, actually, people in their 20s are still trying to figure out their identity, where they want to go in life. But when you see yourself getting into so many of these semantics at such a young age, it's such an amazing thing.
Bro,
But then also, like, moving into, I don't know whether I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Is it EMALI, which
EMALI.
is the bicycle charging project? Yes. What were the main challenges that you faced with that project? Because I'm guessing it might not have been received well by maybe, isn't it? I'm guessing since it was a place where 70% of the people didn't have electricity, maybe people went to charge their phones at the general dealer or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had to pay a fee. So what sort of challenges did you face when it came to pitching also that project to people, and also maybe a stigma which came with it coming from a young person and people maybe not taking it as seriously?
Yeah.
For sure, being young and here people being young, it's one of, even until now, what I still face. Being young is one of the people look at it as a very huge risk. Even until now, I can speak to someone on phone without seeing me and what they're very, they're speaking very well, they're confident. When you meet them and they look at you, they look at your size, they look at how you look, they change their.
The body language changes.
Always. It's a challenge on its own.
Yeah, definitely. It's a challenge on its own because a lot of the time, youth is related to inexperience. It's related to naivety and so many of these different issues.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Maybe that's why I'd asked, maybe there's some sort of stigma that comes with it. And that comes, with you trying to manage a project of that magnitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
hear
we can
you.
hear you now. You had cut off for a bit, but you're back.
Okay. So very.
I think it cut again.
Yeah. Just wait.
People wouldn't believe that some people, young people, can engineer something technological.
Yeah.
And it works. Now, so many of the challenges we found, one was, this is a scam. These things don't work.
Yeah.
The second part is the challenge maybe we got majorly internally is how do we get the equipment? Because most of the equipment used, all the raw materials were scrap. You get analysis from this side, you get some, amplifier from here, you get a motor from this side, all the electronic components. Now, when it comes to commercializing it, you have to make actually, and when you're producing it at a wider scale, production, you have to have actual equipment. So there are a couple of challenges around there. Even just, first of all, exporting those equipments in the country is very expensive. They're taxed very highly. Any electronic equipment coming into the country, because according to the country's plan, the country thinks that they project that agricultural production is the thing for the country. So they give more tax holidays for that than electronic devices. You see, yeah? Yeah. And that's why we eventually said, no, let's get with a partner in the US to help us come up with, an actual finalized prototype.
Yeah.
Something that's sustainable, that could work.
Yes, that works with, then also make it, you can, make all the prices, that we need this amount of equipment to produce this charger. And these are the suppliers. So even we thought about it being manufactured in China, then we just import the finished product. Because even the capital, the aspect of capital, setting up such an industry, you see. So there are a couple of things. The first person who helped us was our director. She believed in us very, very immediately that this is something which is big. So she gave us the first initial capital to do the prototypes.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So also, before we move on, what sort of improvements were made, like with the introduction of the investments that were made from the United States?
So right now, even I have it, just have it here in my house. The prototype, it's compatible with iPhones, compatible with all phones.
Wow.
It does. Okay. Yes, it's compatible with all phones. It is the regulator. It has actually some sort of an inside management kind of a system where it's compatible with device where it cannot blow. The first thing we made, when the electricity or the energy from the dynamo from the bicycle is high, when you're riding so fast, it can easily blow up the phone. But with this new one, it's regulated. It's regulated and however much. But also with this new one comes with a battery, whereby you can store the energy. So after when you're not cycling, you can your phone can continue charging.
It's still charge.
So the current
we have
too high.
Yes, we have a 3D printed, some of the 3D printed prototype kind of boards which we can use for trying.
Yeah.
So there were quite a number of improvements because majority of these people were, experienced engineers and they had a fully equipped lab, engineering lab, all the testings and all that. So there are a couple of improvements.
I wanted to piggyback from something about investors there. You did mention that you found investors in the US, right? Did you try and find investors in Uganda before you tried to find out elsewhere?
Okay, I think that's a very important question, and also something I really, I'm really passionate about is investment, venture capitalists or investors in Africa. Now, one thing I've seen, it is very easy for an investor in America or an investor in the UK to believe in a young person's idea than an investor in Africa. That's one of the things I've realized. We pitched to different people, until actually before the investor from the US, I had another investor who came in from the UK, a lady from the UK, even she came to Uganda here some time back. That was 2019.
Yeah.
Majority of the people who have taken in the risk and also to believe in the idea have been investors from not in Africa. And it's something I feel bad about. People here don't believe exactly in. Someone comes and presents you something. First of all, they look at a young man as a risk. They look at an idea, this is impossible. The mindset. And that's why you see, if you realize that many big companies born in Silicon Valley are young people, because investors there take a young person's idea seriously.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Compared to here, I think we just lack faith or something like that.
Yeah, maybe a lot of the times it has to do with being way too pragmatic, because I think I was mentioning that youth is a lot of times associated with inexperience, associated with being rash, with making a lot of mistakes along the way. But then that leaves people not actually looking at the product in itself, the idea in itself, and the potential it may have, which is actually the main thing.
Yeah.
So that's where maybe a lot of our mistakes come in, and we find out that a lot of ideas are stifled and we never make a lot of progress compared to maybe some of the other more advanced countries.
We always think that young people are like you mentioned, the high risk, because they're supposed to be in school, they're supposed to be learning, playing football, or I don't know whatever old people think young people do. After this, they're supposed to find a job. Then we can talk about them starting up businesses. But for now, they're too young to think for themselves.
Even I've met bankers. I've been in a couple of banks to to try to access capital. The same conversation. Young people are at risk. We rarely give young people money, and we rarely give young people investment. So everything is attached to to young people, and that's the mindset we have been. However much the opportunity we get with the decision makers, with political leaders, with leaders in government, we tell them that. That we actually have the potential, and we're not looking for you already made the plans for us to benefit. No, we want to talk with you at the table so that you actually see these are wise people.
Yeah.
These are capable young people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do I also, just quick on that also, do you think young people might also be the problem behind them being considered a risk?
Yeah, yes, of course, there are a category of young people who are that, who are are chaotic, you see, but not everyone, you see. That's those true. Young people are spoiling the image, and that's the things we're telling the president. As much as you have this idea that young people are lazy, they're chaotic, they're rioting, they are a category of young people. Yes, you see. There are a category of young people who are taxpayers, who are waking up every day running businesses, and they need government as a stakeholder.
That's true.
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, I think it all boils down to stereotyping and having this idea that, as you said, the youth are lazy, the youth complains, the youth never actually want to do things for themselves. But there are people taking initiative, and they do need a boost from the government so that their ideas can be taken to the next level. So during your time in university, of course, you mentioned the EMALI project. You're also in the model. You also involved in the Model UN, and you said you were the local director of the Holtz Prize. So what do you think are the main kind of processes and lessons that you learned that you're using even to this day from those experiences?
Wow. Generally, I just have lots of experiences I'm using until now, you see. And I literally spent from 20 to 10% of my time on all my school time in class. Majority of my time I was spending it outside, activities, representing the university, representing the school, and all that. So one of the biggest lessons which I'm still using right now is confidence. Is you able to present yourself that you can be resourcing something. Going through Halt Prize, going through the Model UN, going through ISEC. All these are young people, a few young people who actually believe in themselves and have gone out in the world there to show the world that actually they are able to do something. And that is one of the things even right now I'm doing. If I have an idea, I'm not afraid to call the minister, to tell the minister that, can I have a meeting with you? I have an idea that can change this country. You see, that type of confidence, and that's what I built over the years, and that's many young people don't even believe I can negotiate with someone that, I'm going to do this work, but I'm going to do it excellently, that don't even think about paying me as if I'm just an entry graduate. The experience I bring to your organization is an experience which you can't get anywhere. I want to bring value, So right now, when I sit on the table with some people, I'm offering value, much more value than even just a recent graduate, but I'm just offering a value which I don't want to be compared to someone who has just left university. Yes, I've left university just 2 years ago, but even on top of that, I have many experiences within myself. You see, and that's why I do encourage many young people when you're at the university, join these associations, join other activities to participate, to be in. Because they build, they open new mindset.
That's true.
Even you might not need your papers, because you build a big network, big connection.
That's true.
So I think that's one of the major things. I had an opportunity to be speaking with the Vice Chancellor, telling them how I think the university needs to change, how we need to be a university producing leaders, entrepreneurs, products in the country. I challenge the Vice Chancellor. How do you graduate 1,000 students? Do you think there are jobs outside there? You should be able at the same time launching 50 products, which are going to be companies to employ your graduates. That's how the university should be formulated.
That's
so all those conversations had an opportunity. Yeah. To talk with some of those, our leaders in society.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's very insightful. I think what you're talking about when you say we should try and join these societies, these organizations, it's very important, because you start looking at things objectively. You start seeing that you can make a change. You don't need to rely on an outside source to in order to have solutions. So that is very important, and I think that's a gemstone that we can take out of this as young people. That if we give ourselves responsibility, then we're more likely to take initiative and more likely to implement change.
That's true. That's true. Let's move forward a little bit and look into your university life in Milan. I don't know how to pronounce this university correctly. Maybe it's Bocconi University or Bocconi University. You might know better. But how was it there?
Okay. I did study at Uganda Christian University here in Uganda.
Yes.
And I did a short course at Bocconi University in Italy. It was more of both online, but more even some sort of physical part here in Uganda.
Yes.
So my university, I was a leader at the university, not in the side of political leader, a student leader like this, but I was some sort of leader in aspect of innovation. Leader in aspect where people can actually want to talk to in terms of developmental issues.
Yes.
Now, in my first year, I joined what they call the Honors College. Now, at our university, we had called Honors College. It is another college inside the college of top students.
Yes.
Those brilliant students. And then they add you another course called research, advanced research. So I was studying another course inside another course.
Wow. Deep stuff.
So
sounds hectic.
Yes, but we used to do research papers, advanced research papers, and present them to other brilliant students you present them in front of brilliant students, so you know what it takes. What it means is that these are guys who know, so you have to do something which is out of what is there. But also it gave me an opportunity to, because we had a motto called iron sharpens iron, and still what I believe in. That you are good, I'm good, and we are the ones who can sharpen ourselves. So I spent much of my time with such brilliant young people. Even that's one of the closest university friends I still have, because these are guys who are like brilliant in their classes and would come together. Imagine an engineer, a lawyer, top of their class, coming together and sharing ideas. You see, it was some sort of think tank. We used to call ourselves the heartbeat of the university. See, so yes.
That deserves.
That was probably a well-deserved title.
Well-deserved. And maybe
before we kind of tangent out of that topic, do you think that's where the idea of Daya Center came in?
Not really. So the center came in when I was working with ISEC. Yes, when I was working in ISEC, that ISEC, we used to do cross-cultural exchanges, send a couple of people, very many young people outside abroad. And even me, I traveled, during that time, I traveled a bit in different countries. Then I did realize we have like almost more, a couple of hundreds of people living in Europe, we have taken back through ISEC to work for top brands, DHL, all those companies. So how do we create a product where we have those same young people invest back home in some of the savings they have done, they have gotten? So what I was actually doing, I was looking for an opportunity within an opportunity. See, and solving some of the problems. So me and my other colleague I was working with in ISEC, we were like, no, we need to come up with something. So that's how the center was born.
That's amazing to hear.
A company that not only helps those who have gone through ISEC, but are going to help other Ugandans who are abroad to come back and invest through us back home. Yes.
Oh, okay. That would explain a lot of things, because you did say you traveled, so I'm guessing you met a lot of Africans who were in the diaspora. And that's kind of how the idea came through. Okay.
I do have a question while we're still talking about your travels through ISEC. You did mention that at some point you came to Russia. I live in Russia, and I just want to hear from someone else. How was your experience with the few days or the small amount of time you spent in Russia?
Oh, of course, it was interesting. Arriving in Moscow at around 1 a.m. Arrived at Moscow at 1 a.m. It was very cold. Okay, I don't express. At first, I'd not, gone out. So when I arrived at the airport, I had to wait until in the morning to be picked up. And surprisingly, I was almost the only black person in the entire airport.
Yeah.
So
always like
very many people were taking photos with me. So I was some sort of celebrity. If I was still there. Yes, I think I was laughing. I was like, maybe I'm in Uganda, I'm not a celebrity. Now this is my type. Let me.
Yeah, you're like, hey, maybe I should change my citizenship. Become they love me here.
And so it took then in the morning when you got out of the airport outside, wow. Yeah. It was so cold. Very cold than I've ever experienced. But what we had an international conference which was bringing over 100 young people from over 100 countries. Yes. So it was mind-blowing having young people perspectives from more than 100 countries. So me, I just wanted to learn from each young person, their mind, how do they see the world? What do they think the world should be? When you connect from someone from Australia, connect someone from China, connect someone from South Africa, connect someone from the US, someone from Venezuela, Guatemala, and then you try to connect all those mindset and perspective. I think that's one of the most important things. What I think about, but also touring Russia, Moscow. Learning this culture, what they have, these people, reserved people. Actually, I learned quite a number of things. And also trying to look at what business opportunities can be able to be harnessed in this place. And in Russia. So I was like, about what type of food do these people like? And we do export of food to Russia, what's the population of Black people in Russia, so that we supply food. So I just start thinking about a lot of things. But also I got so much sick towards the end that it was so cold that Yeah, so it was. My last days were not really good.
We'll bring you a warm jacket one of these days.
I think it was more than even just being warm. Maybe if I stayed there for maybe around 3-6 months, I would have gotten used.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, probably. But I don't think I would tolerate such type of weather. I really like my weather warm.
Get used to it.
So,
you get used to it.
No thanks. I'm fine. So now let's move on to a recent project, which is 1 Million Youth Africa, where you are trying to teach about 1 million youth, African youth, the importance of independence, the importance of taking initiative, the importance of wanting to make change. So why did you start 1 Million Youth Africa? What triggered the idea into your mind that I should start something similar to this?
Okay, good question. So 1 million Youth Africa. It is a movement. It's not even an organization. I was not looking at it as to be an organization or something. I was just looking at a movement of young people, of me and you, of young people all over Africa, some sort of wave of young changers, change makers, saying that this continent is within our own hands. And I was only looking at only a million, who are going to change millions of others. So every time I speak to different people from different African countries, I'm like, how do we, in your country, just know that you still have a friend, a brother from Uganda who also going through the same challenges, but also is determined to do something to change the continent, is geared up, is taking the initiative. So, and also to create some sort of connection. When I speak to one of my good friends, Paco, who is also a friend, we share ideas. We help each other. She's like, how do I go by this? I have experience. I'd be like, okay, can you do ABCD? I also ask, how do you go by this? That's some sort of, idea sharing, but also helping. I talk with some people from Zimbabwe, from Benin, from Kenya, to talk about business. How do I start my business? So that's some sort of network which I was looking at. How do we share? Now the African continental free trade is now open. How do we combine our resources? If I'm manufacturing something in Uganda now with this free trade area, the markets are opening up. With my connections from Botswana, how can I ship my product from Uganda and sell it in Botswana? How do you ship your product from Botswana and ship it in Uganda? The best person to first ask, what does it take to sell in Uganda? It's me. And the best person to ask someone is my friend through the 1 Million Youth Africa in that same country. So it is a visionary something, and now aligning with this free trade area which is coming. It's going to be a very huge opportunity for us. So as more young people join in, it's just a movement of like-minded people who are doing different initiatives, but we come together to share ideas, to talk, and just say, this continent is ours, and it's upon us who are going. It's not Chinese, it's not someone from the UK, it's not about Americans, but it's us as young Africans.
That's pure amazing. And it brings us closer together, and it helps us to recognize that we all have the same problems, but together we can come up with a home-built solution that solves the problem the way we want to solve it. Oftentimes, I've seen a lot of Africans who have problems maybe in society, and we want to go see a Western-built solution or an Eastern-built solution, from China and Russia and so on, instead of us sitting down on our own and saying, okay, we have this problem. Now, how can we fix it? And just the whole idea of 1 million Youth Africa, besides the fact that it's youth-centered, it's also amazing because it's solution-centered, home solution-centered.
Yeah, and you are also speaking about an upcoming event. Is it the free trade? Did you say free trade union?
The African Free Trade Area. That one was launched. Yes. So this was launched in this year. it was launched this year on 1st January. You know, yes, it was launched this year, but the majority thing is how do the aspect of the African borders, they have to open. You see, so they might why this? You know, it's going to be the largest market. I think you see the African Union and I mean, sorry, the European Union, how you can sell and travel in different countries and all that.
So the policies are more lenient.
Yes. So the FTA, you know, it is some sort of agreement between African Union member states, every single country, aiming at creating one single entire continental market where goods and services can be traded freely and people can actually move freely.
Okay.
Yes. And this is going to create, you know, connecting 1.3 billion Africans across all the 55 countries. Just imagine that sort of market, that you can produce your product in South Africa and you are able to sell it to 1.3 billion people.
It's big.
That's a very big market.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't find something in that market, I don't think you're trying enough.
That's very true.
See?
Yeah. I also wanted to ask, you know, you've been we're closing now, what time is almost up. And I wanted to ask this question. You've been early into IT, you started IT coding and all this stuff at maybe an early age. And what advice would you give to a young person who also wants to get into IT or into tech or into engineering or maybe even into entrepreneurship?
One, I would say I've tried a couple of things. I've been in diplomacy, I've been IT, engineering, entrepreneurship, and all that. What I would say is that find your passion. What do you want exactly to do? When you are doing something out of passion, you can do it at whatever time. You might not even think you are working.
That's true.
See, that's true. Even though you start working, employed, even though you don't go into entrepreneurship, even though you start being employed, you will not be frustrated. We have a very big number of frustrated employees in every company because they went for courses, they went for industries, sectors, which their fathers and mothers and family people told them to go. So you find
the ones with a big paycheck.
Hey, I heard that this one pays much. Go to be a doctor. You see, and you find a frustrated doctor. So what I would say, even though it's music, dance and drama, even though it's art, you know, just find your passion and just do whatever it takes to be best at it. You know, you see, I taught myself coding when I was still at a very young age, you know, and I did it. I invested whatever time I would. Even in class, as a teacher is teaching, I'm having some HTML book, some JavaScript book I'm opening, you know, engineering. Yeah. We had to visit different people, read about Nikola Tesla, how did you read about Thomas Edison, what passion, you know, you see, entrepreneurship, read about top CEOs, how do they manage a business and all that. That's true. That's the best. But also taking risk. We fear a lot taking risk. You know, take the risk. Most young people fear to take risks. And general people. You know, I just feel when I stop taking risks, my life becomes boring. So whatever it takes for you to play your passion, go for it. If it means going again to school, go for it. If it means consulting even a much younger person, go for it. Yeah. If it means, you know, doing whatever it takes, go for it. And that's the thing. If we have such passionate, oriented kind of, which I call the aspect of education has also been much passionate about on my side. And I advocate for a mission-based education system where people study with a mission, not just about academic paper.
Just learning for the sake of learning.
Yes. When Solomon, an example, if I have a mission to get people out of poverty, and I'm studying entrepreneurship, I'm studying coding so that I can be able to help other people teach them coding, and they're able to create their own apps and get out of poverty. So that's a long-term mission, which I'm going to die at creating.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is very insightful. I think following a passion and just going for it is the most important thing that we can do. So, Mr. Odongo, thank you so much for sparing your time and allowing us to have a podcast with you to have this conversation.
Felt like it was just 10 minutes.
Yeah, it felt so short, even though it has been past an hour. But thank you so much. I think we'll be able to find him on Instagram. We'll be able to find him on Facebook, on Twitter at Solomon Odongo Maxwell. I think all that will be in the description below. And also, please follow him on LinkedIn, because I know the youth don't like LinkedIn. Please go there and make connections as well. If you like the video, please please comment and give us some feedback. Please also subscribe to the channel if you're new. So this has been me, the Soul Engineer, and Solomon Odongo Maxwell on this podcast. Enjoy your day. Take care and peace.
Thank you, guys. See you.
All right, peace, guys.